Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you're watching or listening to this, and welcome to Link Up Leaders, your direct link to leaders in supply chain and e-commerce. My name is Lisa Kinski. I'm your producer and co-host, and joined as always by Francois Geoffrey at yet another corner of the world. Francois, how are you?
I am fantastic. I'm here in Jersey. You're right. How are you?
I'm good. I've never been to Jersey. I would love to go. The only thing I know about Jersey is the Jersey Shore, which I was obsessed with when I was in high school.
Okay.
I need you to tell me if that's real life.
That is I think every state has, it's different parts of it. And
Okay.
Jersey, where Kate's from,
Mhm.
is more of the farm life. So like for example, you can hear people shooting right across the street on their property.
Okay.
So yeah, there's like cows and horses and stuff over there. So it's
Gotcha.
it's Jersey Shore is a piece of Jersey, and I think uh, they depicted it pretty funny. Um, but yeah, this is more like northern Jersey, uh, somewhat closer to New York, I guess.
So
A
it's kind
little
of
bit
like how
different.
like super upstate New York is real different than like New York City, and kind of like how Atlanta is very different from where I grew up.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
Gotcha.
very, very, very different. This is not what you
Okay.
would. This is more like central PA sort of thing, I guess. I don't
Is
know.
that am I familiar at all with Central PA? Is
I don't think
Cannonsburg
so.
Central PA?
Cannonsburg.
No, it's right by Pitt.
No.
It's right on the river.
No, that's right by Pitt. I don't know. I guess when I was driving through central PA, you see like a lot of farms and cows and horses and stuff
Mhm.
like that. That's sort of where Kate's from. So I'm here for
Oh,
Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Ohio. It's Ohio.
Kind
That's all
of,
you
yes.
It's Ohio. Well, yes,
Yeah.
happy early Thanksgiving to you and early Thanksgiving to our live listeners and very late Thanksgiving to the audio listeners because it'll be February
Yeah.
when this comes out. Um, but no, I'm good. We actually just had a little Thanksgiving celebration here at the office. So,
Ooh,
and celebrated two birthdays as well. I did make a
awesome.
whole pie
I
again, and
know. I
I sent
saw
you, I
the
know.
picture yesterday. I was very upset. I showed Kate. I was about to screenshot it and be like, "This is what I'm going to send Lisa every time that I'm back," because that was
I
one
need
of the
cake.
most amazing pies that I've ever had. It was a crustless pie that Lisa had made for
Yes.
sort of this potluck that we had
Yeah.
between just our little team. And
It was so much fun.
yeah, that was a mean pie.
Yes. So if you're in the Atlanta area, let me know. I'll make you a pie. And I'll make you one when you get back, like I promised. But yeah, so Thanksgiving, holidays are ramping up. The show's gonna be kind of slowing down a little bit. Everybody's schedules are getting pretty packed out. We've got, today our office is closed on Thursday and Friday as a heads
Mhm.
up. And then we have a couple episodes next week. But even though the show is slowing down, that's not going to mean that our energy is going to be low for today. Because today we have a new
Yeah.
awesome friend joining us that you also just met and connected with through Megla Bardwaj with the Global Sources
Yes.
Summit. Which
Right.
how did that go? Because I was rewatching it today. I didn't get to watch it live though. But she always puts on such a great event, doesn't she?
She's an amazing host, first of
She's
all.
so
But
great.
yes, it was the first time that I got to meet Steven in person. I've seen him all. I think you've probably seen him. Yeah, all in person, virtual. But it's more than just seeing his posts and his comments on Facebook, which are hilarious. And for anyone that's in the Amazon space, highly suggest that you go either add him or follow him or however you do it on Facebook. But also join the Amazon groups. There's so much free wisdom. He will type out
Mhm.
like an entire story for like what is actually going on. You'll see someone post like, "Hey, I need a freight forwarder," or "I'm having some issue with freight," and then obviously you get the 50 spam freight forwarders, and then you have Steven
Mhm.
writing an entire novel about like what you should actually do. And that's why I was so excited to actually meet him virtually and have him on this show, because that's one thing that we're actually lacking. It's that real world supply chain experience, um, that I think really hurts, when you just have all these more positive or salesy people on, let's say, YouTube or anywhere else, really, even on Facebook. So I'm excited to talk to him today.
Yeah, yeah, and also having that real world and kind of tenured experience going into Chinese New Year too, which we haven't talked about as much
Yeah.
this year as we did last year, since we've been so busy with shop. But let's go ahead and just bring him on board. You guys know him, you love him. Today we have Steven Selikoff joining us from Seattle. Steven, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
Doing very good.
Great.
Yes, also a waiver. I love it. And so we have to ask, because like I said, we always ask the weather. Is it rainy and cold in Seattle today? Because that's all I know of Seattle. I have very like broad understandings of all of the states. I'm like, all right, Jersey Shore,
Well,
rainy
I
and cold is
could tell
Washington.
you the weather, but I'm not. I've just decided I'm just going to be a silent person the entire podcast until Lisa agrees that I will be on her send a pie list. Because unless she does that, I'm just going to sit here and be the worst guest in the world.
I don't know how it's going to travel, but I will do my best.
I'm sorry,
I
I
don't know
didn't
how
hear
to.
you. Can you say that again for everyone to hear? So you held to your word.
I will look into the best way to ship a pie and hopefully get it to you fresh. And I will research that. My brother has. I've never mailed food before, but a couple of years ago for Christmas, my dad was like, "I just want Bob Evans biscuits and gravy on Christmas morning because we don't have it in Georgia." And my brother shipped a bunch. He like overnighted a ton of biscuits and gravy. So I'm gonna have to see how to ship a pie the best way, and I will and I will
There
work
we
on
go.
that.
Well, I am sure that your pie, even crushed, is still going to be good. So there's no question there. And it absolutely actually happens to be sunny right now, but a couple of hours ago it was pouring rain.
Ugh.
And the great thing about Seattle compared to New York, where I grew up, is the fact that we really don't have winter here. We just have
Mm.
rainy, wet, gloomy days. But you don't have to wake up and shovel 2 feet of snow out of the driveway. And
That's so
I like
interesting.
that. And it also makes everything around here green. The trees, the
Mm.
roofs, the streets, clothes that are wet, everything turns green.
Ah!
So it's really lovely.
I would
Well,
have
and that
assumed with how far north you are, though, there'd be just tons of snow. It would be just like New
Actually,
York.
there is all around us. You go north of Vancouver, and you've got Whistler, Blackcomb. You've got ski areas just outside of here. But we have uh, the trade currents that come across the ocean that bring warm water all the way up here, and it screws
Mm.
with our weather. We have a lot of kinship with people from the UK because they've got terrible
Ah,
weather too. So
yes.
Well, I imagine also it. I was thinking about this a few months back when we started seeing all of these hurricanes in Louisiana, for example.
Mm.
And it's every part of the country has its own challenges in supply chain because of weather, right? So, I mean,
Mhm.
you not having to deal with ice and snow and all of that in Seattle, I'm sure helps out, first of all, a lot of the distribution channels,
it
but also
does,
last
and
mile.
it doesn't. The last mile is great here because of the lack of snow. But the other hand is it's just a very, very localized situation. So once you go south, you get into Oregon, you go east, and you get into the mountains, you get snow.
Uh,
And there
gotcha.
are a lot of truck delays and so on. There are mudslides that make rail delays. So we've got our
Mhm.
challenges, but frankly, that's part of understanding your supply chain,
Mm.
understanding where are there going to be delays, what's going to be causing delays, and so on. Keeping yourself aware and alert so that you're not taken by surprise. Get yourself a 3PL that had a 3PL with assets, but can also get a warehouse on the other coast or something like that for disaster recovery. All of those are strategies that you need to take uh, into account once you start growing and scaling. You got to stop thinking about it as a set it and forget it business and really treat it as a serious business.
Mhm.
Mm.
And that's kind of that mindset shift between just being like, oh, I'm an Amazon seller to an e-commerce business owner who sells on Amazon, right? That's something that we've talked about a lot. But before we get into that, because I can see very quickly how we're just going to dive straight into the content. Let's hear a little bit about your background, Steven, and your experience, in the e-commerce space, and maybe before that, if there was a before. Seems like everybody like in this space has two careers. They're like, I was a neurosurgeon, and then I started selling on Amazon. Like it always seems there's something more to everybody. So let's hear your story.
Yeah, I have a bit of a story. So I came out of college with long hair, and it was long. And I was a fashion photographer for a while in New
Oh,
York, then Milan, and Brazil. Eventually settled down in Dallas, Texas, doing catalogs for J.C. Penney, which doesn't sound glamorous, but it pays more than, frankly, magazines did. And after a while, Frank, my eyes started going. I couldn't focus as well. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was pre-diabetic. So I got into e-learning and multimedia. Did pretty well with that. Got some nice recognitions. Some of my work was featured on the President's Council, won some awards, beat out Microsoft, who then picked up the phone and said, "Hey, you beat us, so come join us onto our team."
right.
So they recruited me and brought me up here to Seattle. And I started off at Microsoft running one of the divisions within the e-learning division. My focus was bringing in more engagement and so on. But eventually I made it up to be a global business manager 2 different times, running very large divisions, one for 1.35 billion and one for $7.3 billion. That was Microsoft's global worldwide retail sales and marketing. At the same time, I dipped my foot into the water of being an entrepreneur before most people listening were forget about being an entrepreneur. Before most people listening were running around at all. Back in 1973, I started. At the time, there was a woman named Majel Barrett who was on a TV show, and her husband was the producer of the TV show called Star Trek. And she used to
Yes.
pick up all of the film off of the editing room floor, the old scripts when people threw them away, the props that were broken or scuffed. And she sent out a mimeograph catalog and would sell it to anyone who was a fan. Well, there was a bunch of us who were fans.
Oh yeah.
I used to take those film strips and make them into large prints. And with one good frame, I could get as many prints as I want. So there started to be something called a Star Trek convention, which was the grandfather of all these Comic-Cons. And my brother and I would go there. And at 13 years old, I was selling all these prints directly from the film, breaking probably every copyright law in existence. But nobody cared back then.
Yeah.
And I was a kid. What the hell? But I got the bug. And once you're an entrepreneur, it's inside of you. You can't stop it. So around 2001, I picked up an interesting hobby after I moved here to Seattle, and that's blowing glass. And it's really so much fun. We used to make things like this, and this is just like practice. And
Oh,
I
I'm
love
gonna put you
making them
in
in pretty
solo mode for
colors.
this.
There we
Oh,
go.
that's gorgeous.
So I used to do these, and I would make them in all sorts of colors. I like doing purple and so on. So I was with a friend, and we were west of here, out in the peninsula, visiting the lavender farms, and she was a buyer for a big chain. We walked into a couple of souvenir stores, and she started talking with the people behind the counter, and she said, "Hey, my boyfriend does blows glass, and he has glass balls, the lavender. They look just like the colors out here. Would you be interested in selling them?" And they said yes. And she started making all these arrangements and teaching me about selling products to retailers, about keystoning, about merchandising, about markups, marketing, all of it. And, I was just eating it. I loved it. Pretty soon, selling those glass balls were paying for my studio time to blow glass. And I thought this was the best thing in the world. A few years later, um, I was married, not to her, to someone else, and she was disabled, and I wanted to give her some sort of business she could run from home.
Mhm.
So I started online selling. Now, this was back in 2005. Friends of mine from Microsoft who had gone over to Amazon, they heard me complaining about logistics and pick and pack prices and so on. And they said, "Well, we're launching a new product, a new division called Fulfillment by Amazon. It's a service product where we will actually store your products and send it out." And it was less expensive than every pick and pack warehouse I could find. So they launched September of 2006. I was signed up by October. I think if you could track back my unique identifier within their systems, I'm probably within the first 300 people that ever signed up for it.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was fabulous. Back then, it was very different than we have
Mm,
now. They were hungry for people to sign up. They couldn't get enough.
mm,
So when you signed up, first of all, the interface was terrible. Everything was with flat file. But when you signed up, they gave you a website. And this was soon after they launched AWS, so they had piles of service space. And they kind of said, "Hey,
mhm.
we got this. If you sign up, we'll give you that." So they gave you a website. They had a real rudimentary website design interface, but it had very limited color palette. So I created my little web store. Everything was connected to Amazon, and I had to change my packaging. I had to change my own regular website, everything to match the colors that Amazon gave me because I couldn't. It was like a orangey yellow and a black, and I had that was like Halloween, but
Yeah.
it was so great that they did this. A lot has changed in 20 how many years? 17 years since then.
Yeah.
But it's that's how I got into e-commerce. I've had a lot of failures, a couple of good successes, and over the years, I've had products that I've always approached them as selling to retailers as well as online because that's where I started. But
Mhm.
I've had some products picked up and we've sold through Amazon Vendor, as well as um, getting in all sorts of stores from independent and specialty retailers to big box. And I've had a couple of products now on the Today Show. I've had products on
Oh,
Good Morning America, Kathy Lee and Hoda, Fox Business News, Forbes Magazine, Vogue, Paris, New York Magazine, Modern Dog Magazine. Bet you didn't know there was a Modern Dog Magazine.
No, but I need a subscription
You
today.
need a subscription to that. I've even had products on the gift bags at the Oscars. So it's been quite a fun ride. I love doing it. I still have my own products. I still, struggle with them. I still deal with frustrating conversations with China. And I hate what's happening right now with the price of shipping. But I
Mhm.
also have an opportunity now to help other people um, do the same. And it has totally reinvigorated my love for all of this. I mean, think about it. We have the best job in the world.
mm,
So we're lucky.
I
yeah.
agree. I know I have
Y-
the best job in the world, but you know,
I know,
Well,
I
my
definitely
job
do.
would be better if I got pie. Just saying.
If you had what?
pie.
Pie. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I got my fix for maybe the next 2, 3 weeks. Lisa also brought in some pie next day to the office, and half of that was gone before everyone actually got into the office because of me. So,
Hey,
Your
well,
it's
story is
professional.
fascinating though, and it's so cool to hear that you kind of got started with the Star Trek prints because fun fact, Francois, I don't think you know this. I was almost named after a Star Trek character. My name was going to be Deanna Troy, and then the story as to why I'm not Deanna is very funny. I don't know if my mom wants me telling that, but either way, I came out Lisa. Anyway, but you said something that you referenced a term in your story because I have 100 questions, but I'm gonna try and focus on the business stuff because I'd love to hear about the glass blowing and like the photography and how you get your products into Vogue and the Oscars. That's crazy. But you said when you started selling to that one retailer that this woman taught you about keystoning. What is that?
Ah, keystoning is how they price. So if you see something on the shelf for $50, they pay $25 for it.
Mhm.
They double the price that they pay. Um, when you get into retailers, there's lots of people online who know a cousin of somebody or hear a story. Oh yeah, we bought it at $40 and sell it to them for 45 and they're going to sell it for 50 and everyone's making money.
Mhm.
Those are the outliers. Those are the aberrations. In most cases, it'll be keystoning. When you get to big box stores, it's not going to be exactly 50%. It might be 47, it might be 52, 58, so on. But when you deal with small and independent retailers, for the most part, they'll keystone. And depending on their customers, they may even charge more. Good for them if they can.
Gotcha. Okay. That's just something I hadn't heard before. I always just knew it was like, yeah,
It's you'll
the
hear
price
things
that
like, yeah, you'll hear 100% markup, a 50% margin,
Mhm.
keystoning, doubling, all mean the same thing.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mm.
And you are still selling products then on Amazon and through retailers, correct?
Correct. Well, I
Okay.
sell to someone else. I wholesale to someone who sells my products on Amazon exclusively, and I sell to retailers.
Mm.
Gotcha.
And where did you get your start with China? Because I think that's a bit different than you producing your own glass to sell to a smaller retailer.
Yeah.
When you start to scale up, I think particularly a big question is, why do people go to China to buy products? And my answer tends to be, specifically for larger publicly traded companies, it tends to be, they're always doing what's in the best interest of the shareholders, and they have the fiduciary duty to do that. And that means cutting costs. That means mass producing. That means being able to have a stable fulfillment and distribution channel, manufacturing channels, partnerships with overseas factories is a must almost. But where did you get your start with China?
So I started with China. Um, First of all, I started getting some stuff that was printed, and I had it printed in China. I was really, really proud and happy for Microsoft. I was very, very proud and happy with the quality. So that kind of opened my eyes to that China can produce things that are good quality.
Mhm.
Then I had a couple of attempts with products that didn't do well, or did well but not as well as I had hoped. And then we had my wife got a service dog, and Gabby, adorable little thing. It was a Yorkie, or Yorkie Saurus, because it was like twice the size normal
Ah!
Yorkies should be. And the first night, she gets into bed, and I get into bed, and this little dog runs up, leaps up on the bed, and stretches out sideways, pushes
Mhm.
her over, takes over half the bed. She gets slid over. I get pushed over to the very edge,
Mhm.
and I start to complain, but she gives me the look, and anyone who's been married knows what the look is. You shut up and you deal with it, which I did. So I was in a store, actually a flower shop of all places, and they had these pillowcases that said his side and her side, and Romeo and Juliet, and so on. And I asked them, these his side, her side, do you have one that says, the dog's side? And
Mhm.
they laughed and they said, no, but if we did, we'd sell 1 million of them. And that was a light bulb moment.
Of course.
So I came home that evening and I told her about it, laughed, around 2 o'clock in the morning. I woke up. I said, I couldn't sleep. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. I get on the computer. I start talking to people I have. Oh, I'm going to blow it now, but I'm no longer working at Microsoft. Connections I had at Microsoft in China, I started chatting with them and had them call around, and by the morning time, I already had my business plan out. I had my suppliers identified. I had everything that I needed to get my business going. Let's see if I have a catalog here. Here we go. Here's a catalog, and I launched the first of these pillowcases. See if I can find one here. There we go. See if I can bring this up to the camera. But that was the first of the pillowcases.
That's good. Oh, and if you're listening to this, you have to hop on YouTube around 25 minutes in. You'll be able to see these pillows.
It's
Yes,
it's it's a
half.
full-sized pillow that says the dog sleeps here, another full-sized with the wife, and then the husband is like, I don't know, a couple inches.
Seems accurate.
Squished
Seems
in on the
accurate.
edge.
That's hilarious. But this
That
but this is a Yorkie that
Yeah, well,
it doesn't seem like the Yorkie
dogs
should be
have
able to take up that much room.
they shouldn't, but they have an incredible gift of geometry. They know exactly how to take up as much room as possible
That's true.
with such tiny little bodies, legs stretched out, and they're so cute you can't say no to them. So
Oh yeah. Like if the puppy falls asleep on you, it's like I die here. I'm never moving. I can't move. Like
correct.
that's it.
It's it,
Kind of
it's
like the
it's
same with
written
babies.
somewhere. It's a law. So
Yeah.
that did pretty well. And that particular product line grew into 30 plus pillowcases, throw pillows, all along those lines. It was we launched it the last week of the year, and then a few months later, we're at not Global Sources, Global Pet Expo, which is the American Pet Products Association Expo each year, largest pet expo. They gave us second place for the best new pet product of the year. And then someone called up and said, "Congratulations! I saw you on Good Morning America on the Today Show." And I said, "You didn't see me on the Today Show." Well, we saw your products, and it turns
Right.
out they did a feature on it, and that really had things taking off. So that was a lot of fun. But I bring a sense of humor to all of my products and such, and that that worked very well. That goes back to the question of China, but on a serious note now, China produces 30% of the world's goods. And they
Hmm.
do that because they made a conscious decision that when they looked at poverty across the country, that they were going to lift people out of poverty by really investing in manufacturing, whereas some other countries have invested in IT and so on. China has invested in manufacturing so much that they built districts. They built areas of China that are just for certain types of products. So around Shenzhen, you're going to find all sorts of electronics products. Around Shanghai, Wuxi, you're going to find all sorts of fabrics and so on. You're going to find ceramics near Beijing. So they in China, it's fascinating for people in America who's never seen this type of a setup. But the factory will have a building for the factory, and next to it they'll have a building for a dormitory.
Mhm.
And people from China come from all areas of the country, live there, right next to the factory. And then once a year they go back home to their families, and then they go back and they live and they send their paycheck for 11 months out of the year. But by doing that and having all of that infrastructure around, they're able to build such support for manufacturing that allows them to do amazing things. If you ask
Mhm.
anyone in the street, why is China doing all this manufacturing? They're going to think, oh, it's because of cheap labor. It's not
Hmm.
anymore, not these days. New York Times did a great study about building an iPhone, and they said
Okay.
that the cost of an iPhone being made in the United States would not be much more than the cost of an iPhone being built in Shenzhen. However, then they point to one day, 24 hours, they needed 30,000 workers.
Mhm.
And in 24 hours, they had 30,000 workers at the factory ready to work. There is not a single location in the United States or anywhere else in the world where you can get 30,000 trained workers up to speed
Mhm.
and working on the floor. So China has all of that going for it. And I'll give you one more example of infrastructure. When I started going to China, or a couple of examples, I started going to China. You take the train from Shanghai to Ningbo, it would take 5, 6 hours. You'd give a day to it. Now there's a bullet train that goes back and forth. There was one day that I was going on the outskirts of Shenzhen on this big highway, and they were building an eight lane, so 16 lane exit off the highway just to go to the Foxconn factory, just to go from the
Holy
highway to
crap.
the factory, just so they could transport goods.
Good gravy.
You know, it's it's a country where they can say, hey, we're going to build a road here or a high speed rail line here, and they do it because that's the politics of the country.
Mhm.
But they're also saying it's important for our economy to build a road here or a high-speed train here. So they do that with the train right there as well. So they can do that. It really sets them apart from anywhere else in the world. And for us who are entrepreneurs, when we want to source products, you can look lots of places in the world. There are things you can get here in the United States that you can't get done in China. And there are things you can get, cotton and fabrics. You can have stuff sewn in Mexico. You can get great stuff from Turkey, from India, from Vietnam. But there are other things that you really need to be looking to China. For example, you can try to get something made of plastic or plastic injection in Vietnam, but they're probably getting their machinery from China and their raw materials from China. So it is the big gorilla in the room. And it's better for us to use that and see how can we leverage that to make our businesses better than to worry about it.
Well, it's all of the stuff that I think is often just overlooked, right? I think a lot of times I have conversations even with some people that are business owners that have been doing this for decades, and they might not think, well, where's the timber coming from? Well, who has the strongest relationships for importing timber? Where is that coming from? Is that coming from the Balkans? Is that coming from other parts of Russia? What about Vietnam? Do they have a strong import of plastic or, just recycled plastic even? No, China has the largest import of plastic in the entire world. I think 3-4 times more even than the US. It's really the upstream supply chain in understanding what goes into your product, right? Today, for example, we're having these conversations about raw material prices going up, and it's been a huge topic of conversation for the past 12 to 18 months. And it's a lot more than just because someone said the prices need to go up. No, it's the entire infrastructure of supply chain slowing down and the demand continuing to skyrocket also. It's all these different facets that, is that something, I guess, that can easily be learned by just Googling it and just researching, for example, what goes into your products?
I think it's number one, yeah, absolutely. You can research that and learn. But number two, you can also choose your products based on what you research and what you learn. There are people who prefer to have products that are not made in China, and then research out what products, what raw materials can you develop products out of that come from other places. So if you want something that is made of linen, if you want something that's made of copper, of leather, you may want to be going to India, which takes you out of that imported from China, made in China type mold. But if you want something that's going to be have a Bluetooth device in it, you're going to have something, if you're going to do ear pods or a microphone, then you are going to be in China. That's where you want to be. So understand what goes into your product, but also understand how that impacts your supply chain, your sourcing, and the volatility. If you're doing something in polyester, be aware that the price is going to go up and down based on petroleum prices. And if petroleum prices are stable like they are now, and you've got a supplier who's saying, oh yeah, your polyester product's going to go up, then your answer is simply no. It's all a negotiation. So absolutely be aware that there are times where it's legitimate for prices to go up, but there are also times where they're going to say the price is going up because that's just like a child asking for candy. They're always going to ask, hoping you're going to say yes. And sometimes it's up to you to say no.
Most of the time.
I just made me think as I said that. I wonder how many Amazon sellers have ever said no to their supplier. I don't think it's something that people talk about. I don't think I've seen a single training course where anyone says, well, just say no to your supplier.
Is it the fact that, and nobody says no, because it seems like the pattern is to just either have a backup or have an alternative and just move off the business altogether. Like it seems like they're really ready to jump ship instead of building that relationship. And in relationships, you do have to say no. I mean, is that maybe why it's we don't hear about that, because they're just like, oh, well then bye, I'm gonna go somewhere else. Like, is that maybe it?
You want me to answer? I'll piss off a bunch of people.
That is
Please do. I mean, I
your
think these are
decision, but
the real
we're
conversations that we need to have.
not
I think the reason that people don't say no is they don't understand their relationship with the supplier. They don't understand the supplier that they're dealing with. They don't understand business in China. Um, you know, you tell Francois that, you know, you have Guanxi with a factory, he understands immediately. That is the Chinese word for relationship. But lots of Amazon sellers don't even understand how important that is in China. In the US, we don't, in English, we don't have a word for that. In China, they have a word for it. Sociologists say that's how you can tell something's important to society. They actually have a word for that relationship. They also have a history in business of, and war and other things, of honoring cleverness. Now, that's not the same as being dishonest. That's being clever, of figuring things out. And that's part of doing business. So if they try to get around and change something on you and save prices and so on, that's just expected. And you're expected to expect it from them. So you should be able to protect yourself against that and so on. And when they say, well, yeah, we have to raise prices because the ship got stuck in the Suez Canal. We have to raise prices because a flea farted in Lithuania. You've got to be able to come back and say, no. When people learn Amazon FBA, unfortunately, a lot of it is derived from the original, you know, amazing selling machine courses that came out however many years ago. And some of the suggestions and advice and tone of those original courses have passed down over the years. When I first started when I first started sourcing products in China that I would sell, it was typical that you negotiate right from the beginning how much you're going to put down, what's your balance or balances, maybe 20% down, 40% after inspection is successfully passed, 40% upon receipt of BOL. And that's normal. Well, lo and behold, Amazing Selling Machine said, we're going to do this with 30% down, 70%. And so many people just learned that and accepted it, that now most trading companies expect that or more. I've seen people in Facebook say, this is the way it is, as if it's written in stone. It's not. When I talk to people about payment terms, and they say, well, I've never had par term. How do you ask for terms? What do you do? And I say, no, you ask from it for the very beginning. Because when are you going to ask about payment terms if not at the beginning when you're talking about price? It's part of your negotiation. People are not used to that. They don't know that they can do that. And by the way, don't expect those terms on your very first order with your very first supplier, but you put it out there so they're aware. And you can say, you know, by my third order, I expect to be, you know, putting 20% down and 80% 30 days after receipt. Let them say no, but at least start the conversation. So because of that, and because people are uncomfortable negotiating, uncomfortable putting themselves out there, a lot of people have this imposter syndrome that it's not talked about in any course. But of course you can say no. Of course you can ask for the price to come down when you place your next order. Of course you can discuss MOQ. And when you discuss MOQ, going back to what Francois just said, know your product, know your what goes into the raw materials, what they cost, what are the quantities they have to purchase it in, so you understand when they do have a legitimate MOQ or not. But negotiate all of that. That's not talked about. In fact, now I really get to piss people off. In China and Japan, kings negotiate with kings. You are a king. You own or you've started your own company. You're laying it all out there on the line. And then you get an email or messenger and you say, hi, yeah, I'm just a low middle level management procurement person, and my boss is not going to accept that or what. And no, you are the king. Be the king and own it and say, no, I need this. Don't try to pass it off to someone else and pretend that you're not the owner or the decision maker in your company, because then you're going to be dealing with that sales rep. But the person who really makes the decisions above the sales rep. And you are and should be above that procurement manager. But then instead you pretend to be someone you're not, which, by the way, the moment you become successful, you have to say, oh, haha, I was kidding. I'm really the owner of the company. They know that. They've seen these YouTube videos. They know that you're lying. You're setting off the tone as saying, hey, I'm going to be deceptive from day one, which tells them a little bit about your character and your confidence. And they can turn around and say anything they want because they know you're going to accept it. So, yeah, there's an answer. How's that?
Yeah, no, I mean,
love it.
I think it's a great answer, but I think it could also be dangerous. I think we do need a little bit more clarification in regards to a part of a lot of these courses is also just, let's send out a 40-question questionnaire and that's going to kick off negotiations, which I think we both know that's not really the way that it's done. Typically, you do have to start off with just a human element, right? Hey, how are you doing? Hey, these are the types of things that I need in my product. These are the materials that I know that I need. These are the key features that I really, really, really need. And these are some of the things that I want. This is the target price that I'm trying to get. I think a lot of times someone might hear this and misconstrue that for, well, I just want a sample run of 20 units, but it has to be the super customized product. And I need it for the cheapest price. And I need it for the best quality. And so I think we do need a little bit more clarification also as to, how is this being done? Are we talking about larger quantities? Are we talking about, being open to paying more if, you are doing a sample run, for example, as opposed to if you're doing something off the shelf, you could typically buy like 10, 20 of them. Can we dive into that just a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, you're absolutely right, because don't take my advice in a silo. It's part of the whole discussion and where you're positioning yourself and who you're talking with, because if you're talking to a factory, it's one discussion. If you're talking to a trading company, it's another discussion. But once someone goes to China and they go to a factory, one of the things that they're going to discover is you don't walk in like in the US, say, let me see your stuff, let me sit down, these are the prices I need, and you're gone in an hour and a half. No, you walk in, they're going to greet you. They're going to show you around the factory. They're going to show you the sales floors, the office. They'll make introductions, and they're going to talk about all sorts of things, not about your product, not yet. Then they might take you to a lunch, a really nice lunch, and find out more about you. Now, they're listening. They're trying to determine how serious a client you're going to be, but they also want to get to know you. By the time you start talking about your product and prices and details, it could already be mid-afternoon. They don't rush into it. So just as you just said, Francois, there's a lot that comes before giving a list of requirements and saying, can you do this?
And sometimes, I mean, this even ties into the concept of the Guangxi, and that's really the relationship building. And you don't kick off a relationship with a million questions. You get to know a person, right? You both woo each other a little bit. You get each other excited about each other, right? These are my plans. This is, I'm serious about this. I want to know that you're serious about this too. So I appreciate that clarification. Now we are, I know, a little off topic, and I think this itself is very important also.
I was going to say, I'm almost just totally okay renaming this episode for the audio only version and having Steven come back to talk about the actual topic and just like continuing with this. I think like that's the vibe. So if you want to keep with the sourcing from China, I can just rename this whole thing and we can do it again.
You can do it again. I will.
If we can have you back on.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Um, but I will bring a little bit of the original topic back in here. Um, when you figure out what your inventory needs are, and you're calculating it out for Amazon, then you're going to know that you need X amount of product. Let's say you're going to order 1,200 units. But if you expand your channels, then you're going to expand the amount of products that you need. And now you're going to increase that amount. If you sell off of your own site, once you do that for a few months, or certainly once you do it for a full year cycle, you know and can project out what you're going to need as far as inventory. When you expand to retailers, you take that X number and it can explode. One of the things that people, I'm not sure if they're just not aware or tend to forget, but e-commerce itself is only a small amount of retail in the US. Now, I know there's a lot of promotional numbers thrown out there. I just got an email a week and a half ago from one of the tools saying this is the state of e-commerce right now in the US. But the reality is the Department of Commerce does very objective data analysis of where the market's broken down. Nielsen, the people that everyone knows, does the TV listings. Every time you put your product through that little thing and it goes beep, the scanner, that gets sent to Nielsen as well as their own inventory management systems. So on objective data, e-commerce is, as of the 18th of November, they released a report for third quarter of 2021, 12.4% of retail in the US. So one of the reasons that I encourage people, if you're successful at e-commerce, if you're successful at Amazon, then expand into retailers. And when you expand into retailers, then that MOQ goes up. And that brings us back to the conversation we were just having about talking with your supplier. And you tell your supplier, oh, I'm on Amazon. They're thinking, well, Chinese nationals are now allowed to sell on Amazon. When I started, they weren't, but now they can. So, I've heard as high as 60% of sellers on Amazon now are Chinese. When you tell them you're going to sell on Amazon, they say, aha, I didn't think that this coffee mug was going to do great on Amazon, but this guy says it is, so I'm going to go sell it on Amazon as well and undercut everyone's prices. But you say, I'm selling this in retailers, and they're sitting there scratching their head saying, well, we can't sell in retailers, so we better make this guy happy so he buys more and more from us. And that's a different conversation.
And what do you have to think about in regards to, I guess, setting up your product and even product development for the differences between Amazon and retailers? Because a lot of times I, for example, get a package from Amazon, and it's just a plain brown box. I don't know who's actually selling it. I don't actually do the research as to who the seller is. But is there anything that they need to set up? Do they need to think about how it's palletized? Do they need to think about how many go into a master cart? I guess, what do they have to prepare in their supply chain to prepare to even start going into in-store retailers?
You're asking excellent questions, exactly the questions to be asking. Everyone wants to end up in Walmart or Target or Home Depot or Bunnings or wherever. But the easiest way to start is with independents and specialties. Those are the boutiques, the independent pet stores, the DIY stores, the local health store, and so on, resort stores, gift stores. And the buyer, the decision maker, is usually the person behind the counter. These stores are small, so they're not going to store a pallet worth of goods. They buy by the case pack. And the case pack, if it was like these mugs, looking at the size and everything else, there might be 6 or 8 in a box, and that's it. That is your inner carton in China. They take it, they put it into a package. All of those package goes into the inner carton. They seal it. They put a few of those. Let's say there's 6 of those in the master carton, and they ship it off to you. Now, when you sell to that independent or specialty retailer, you're selling in multiples. And surprise, you're selling in multiples that match your inner carton or your case pack. So now, when um, Jim in his store wants a case of coffee mugs, they say, yep, I want to buy whatever the price is. Let's say they're $10 each and there's 8 in the case pack. All right. So it's 8 times 10. I'm going to pay $80 for a case pack. Your 3PL sticks a shipping label on it and out it goes. Actually, let me stop there. It's $80 for a case pack of the mugs plus the shipping. So let's say the shipping is another $15. Jim's going to pay you $95, $80 plus the shipping. They pay for shipping up front. Now your 3PL sticks that label on and out it goes. There's no pick and pack. They don't have to open up the carton. It's so much simpler, less expensive. And you just sold 8 coffee mugs. If over the next month, 4 people come in and they buy half of them, Jim's going to panic and buy another case pack from you. He can't buy 4. He has to buy 8 at a time. Another $95. Out it goes. You don't pay for shipping. You don't pay pick and pack fees or anything else. It's out there. This is actually from Starbucks in China, but this one's red. So let's say that I have one in red, one in blue, one in green. Jim doesn't know who's going to come into a store next. He doesn't know if they like red or if they like blue or if they like green. So actually, he's not going to buy that case pack of red ones. He's going to buy a case pack of red ones, of blue ones, and green ones. So he just bought 24 mugs from you. And when he sells out, he's going to buy more. So, and there's all sorts of ways of increasing those day of sales, of how to do bestseller assortments and so on. But that's how your MOQ suddenly skyrockets and your revenue stream skyrockets. And revenue stream is really important because Amazon, for all of the wonderful things it is also a place where you wake up in the morning worrying if your account suspended for some reason, or if somebody's put a false infringement claim on you or something. But when you have multiple revenue streams, then you turn around to whoever it is that your smartest person on your staff is and say, hey, we got a problem with Amazon again. Can you handle that? And you go right back to sleep because you've got money coming in on other streams. You've got money coming in from a buyer's club, which is a bunch of stores together. You've got money coming in because you've got sales reps all over the US walking into stores and selling your stuff. So that's super helpful. The other side of it, I mentioned inside the case pack, you're going to put it in a box. Your package, when you sell to retail, is the same as your listing when you're selling on Amazon. You have to make sure that when someone goes down the aisle, they see it and they're compelled to buy. Now, I'm talking small retailers because when you talk about big retailers, now you're talking about containers. And, you just deliver it to the dock in China by the container load and send it off. That's a completely different world. Or you have it delivered to the US and you have your truck deliver. And, that's the type of stuff where you wake up to $1.5 million purchase order from Target. That's very different than waking up wondering if you're suspended. But reality is it's easier. Big box stores are more complex, but it's easier in general than Amazon. If you can figure out Amazon, if you know how to make products that work, and if you can put together a team and you can give them the right instructions about how to make sure that the packaging is done correctly. If you know how that you're dealing with your factory, you protect yourself from your factory with the right IP, and you get yourself set up with a good 3PL in the US or wherever you're selling, then it becomes like clockwork. I had a 3PL out in Maryland that not only did my shipping, but also did my collections when people were late in paying. They did commissions for Salesforce. We actually opened a bank right there in their town so they could pull money out and put money in and everything else. And I could focus on other parts of the business. So it really can be very simple. The key is you gotta take that leap, and that's a scary thing, because if you can do it on Amazon, Amazon is harder to succeed at, but if you can succeed at Amazon, then give a shot to retailers as well. It helps you across the board.
Definitely. I kind of want to put a pin in it right there, just because I think this is such a great teaser to like a second episode where we really dive into it, and how to start those conversations, how to get onto the shelves, build those relationships, because building that relationship with the small boutique owner is going to be so different than anything else, because they're a solopreneur and a small entrepreneur too. So I kind of want to put a
just
pin
like
in
us.
that. Just like us. Yes. It's just like talking to us. But to put a pin in that and to kind of round out the episode, since we are at the end of our time, I do want to hear about your academy, the Product Development Academy, and what you guys are doing there, and give you an opportunity to plug the business and where people can find you if they have any questions.
Great. Thank you. Productdevelopmentacademy.com. Real easy to find. And there's all sorts of links there to reach out to me and contact me there. We help people from the beginning, whether you've got a product in mind or not, but through ideation, through evaluation, making sure it's profitable, that customers desire it, that it's designed well. We take you through the manufacturing, remote factory management, quality, logistics, marketing, protection, all sorts of legal protections, and so on, of which there are some really good basic ones that, again, I don't know why they don't talk about them in these Amazon courses, all the way up into e-commerce, specialty and independent retailers, big box stores. We get you right up to the point where you can knock on the door and you're prepared. And we work closely with a really good retail consultant, so that when that door is opened, you know what to say. And then you can start going into the operations side of your business, which is a whole another story. So that's what we do there. Our program is as small as concierge. It's very high touch. It's a different business model than FBA, because we focus on products that are significantly differentiated. But it also, we had someone who launched and was she ran out of stock less than 90 days after she launched. On $20,000 of stock, she made $125,000.
Wow.
So that's without, I was gonna say, it's out PPC. It's actually, she hadn't even launched on Amazon yet. It was just in pre-sales and buzz. So that's that. If you're interested, there's also a book, the complete book of product design, development, manufacturing, and sales. I have to think just the name of my book for a moment. But all of this and the approach is also now being taught at the University of Nevada, Reno. As a course based on my book. Another university is looking at that as well. And this should be an interesting topic, but it's all based on product development for small businesses, which is different, obviously, than we did it at Microsoft. It's different than they do it at Y Combinator and so on. And it's gaining ground, which would really, my mom's passed, but she'd be tickled to see that people are listening to me and repeating me and now teaching me in college. That's pretty damn cool.
That is really cool. Congrats on that. That's exciting. And
we're going to have to add a new book to the list.
Yes, I was going to say, I have to add it to our list, and I'll add a link of where you guys can buy the book in the description of the video. And
so people are listening to this live. I was talking to someone today. I'm going to put it on a free download for Kindle on Black Friday and Cyber Monday.
Ooh,
so you guys get the official announcement now. So just go to Kindle and you can download it for free on Black Friday and Cyber Monday.
Fantastic.
Perfect. I'll be doing that.
Oh yeah. We'll all be doing that. Awesome. Well, Steven, thank you so much. Like I said, we're going to have you back for an episode 2 where we really dive into the in-store retailers and how to get into that. I like that we just got like a little teaser of it, even though it was supposed to be today's topic, but oh well, I love how this went anyway. That's why we always say it's a conversation, where it goes, it goes. So
this is so much fun. And I Francois and I already decided we have to get together and in person and so on, but I may ditch you, because Lisa has pie You know,
I have pie.
and pie
Lisa
is
Lisa has pie for us. And if you ever make your way to Atlanta, maybe I could coerce Lisa into making more pie for us.
Yes.
well, interestingly enough, Atlanta is the home of one of the 2 largest marts in the US for selling to retailers. So yeah, I'm definitely making it to Atlanta. Now I have 2 reasons.
Perfect. Now you have 2
There we go.
reasons. And we'll just make sure Francois is in Atlanta too. But Steven, thank you
No,
so
no, no,
much.
no, no, no.
Oh no, leave him
No,
up there.
he
Oh,
already
wants
said
all the
he's got
pie
half the
himself.
pie.
okay.
He said he eats half the pie. I mean, come on.
That's true. That's true.
He comes the day after I get the pie.
There you go. He likes to be a day late for things anyway.
Right.
Hashtag Miami. All right. Well, thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who listened live and also on the podcast platforms. As always, if you guys liked what you heard today, be sure to give us a like, comment, share, subscribe to the show, share your thoughts in the comments, and also share this episode with your friends. And be sure to turn on automatic downloads and turn on those notifications on YouTube so that you never miss a conversation with leaders in supply chain and e-commerce like Steven Selikoff. Steven, thank you again so much.
Thank you,
Steven.
guys. This is so much fun.
Thank you. And we will release an episode 2 date very soon.
Bye, guys.
Take care.
Bye.